All right, sounds good. Thanks for the three of you for doing this.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi.
Ray.
Brittany, let me start with you. Elaine goes through some changes. I think it's fair to say in this show. And I'm just wondering, did did the experience of dealing with the consultant did this bring out something that wasn't in her before, or was this character in there and he just drew it out of her?
Oh, you know what? I think he drew it out of her. I absolutely believe that she evolved. I think that I think there was a seed that must have been planted in childhood or in her environment or some sort of coping mechanism to avoid personal life stuff and just grow and evolve and look for power. I think a lot of people look for power in their work or validation in their work. And I think that, I think Patoff sparked a fire in her and also opened her eyes, as disgusted as she was towards the way that he chose to do it. She's like, well, maybe I can find a more ethical way to do this. Yeah.
A more ethical way to be evil, really.
Yeah, maybe.
Aimee, Patti also goes through an odd series of changes, and I'm wondering, what was it inside Patti, do you think, that made her susceptible to all of this?
Well, I think that, thank you for bringing that up. I think that everyone is susceptible to this. I think that the idea that some people just can't be messed with, that their minds are not, cannot fall prey to powerful people of influence. I think that's how people end up in a cult. It could never happen to me, but can. And I think with Patti, she's so rigid in her definition of herself and her relationships and where her relationship is going with Craig. She's got her life really mapped out. And I think that because of that, she loses sight of who Craig really is, who she is. And so when Patoff shows her something else, right, and he makes her feel something else that maybe she hasn't felt in a long time, then she realizes, oh, well, this is different. Maybe my life doesn't have to be this way. And so, from beginning to end, she sort of starts off knowing everything or thinking she does. And at the end, she's literally just starting over, which is maybe her worst nightmare at the very beginning of the story. But I think, it can happen to all of us.
Well, Nat, having worked at some startups, Craig seemed like a very familiar character. And I'm wondering, as an actor,
were you Craig? Who is Craig? Is it you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I at the startup. No, I was saying at the startup when you said Craig was familiar. You said you worked at a startup?
Yeah, I worked at startups, and sorry, you kind of cut out for a second there.
Oh.
This, of course, not me, friends that I know. Sort of that combination of intelligence and fear and just sort of this erratic approach towards life, and just sort of throwing yourself into every situation, even when you know it's not going to work out. And I'm thinking, as an actor, this was a lot of fun, because by the end of the season, you're in a darkly weird spot.
Yeah, totally. It was every time I got a new script, it was like opening a Christmas present. But then I would see, and because they were so good, Tony's such an incredible writer. But then I'd be like, oh my God, this is what I have to go through next. It was like every single episode, it was just like another bomb would drop in Craig's life. What I loved about it was that there was something in Craig that needed to mature, and this Patoff coming to this office actually helped his journey into manhood and into adulthood.
Well, let me just kind of go back around and ask all of you sort of the variation of the same question, because it's come up in all your answers, and maybe Brittany, start with you, and then Aimee and Nat real quick. Do you think that your character is better off or worse off having went through this experience? Brittany, maybe?
I feel like I don't know, better off, but maybe a start of a process. So maybe better off, how it gets worse before it gets better. I don't know. I kind of envision Elaine, Elaine's been dormant, and now she's finally awakened to life and what it is going to unfold for her. So That's just maybe my imagination there, but I think that that's where I feel like Elaine is. I guess in ways it is better to be alive than not. So yeah.
I know that's what makes the show fun. So Aimee, you mentioned that at the end of it, she lost pretty much everything that she thought that she wanted. And so is that a good thing for her, a bad thing for her? What's your take on it?
Well, I think ultimately truth is always good. You know what I mean? And I think the one thing that Patoff does is that he strips everyone of their masks, of their comforts, of their toolbox, and their safety, security blankets. So I think that everyone in this series at the end of the season is sort of laid bare. And I think that ultimately is a good thing. I mean, whether it feels good, probably not. But I think that Patti has a lot to discover about herself, and she would never have. Maybe she would be in like the wrong marriage. I don't know. If she hadn't gone through this process. So.
Okay, well, Nat, let's wrap it up with you. What's your take on it? Is he better or worse, or just stranger?
Your thing just broke up. So what was the end of it? Sorry.
Just is better or worse, stranger? What was his experience for going through this?
I think traumatized, but better. I think it unlocks a lot of the. It's sort of what the show does. Patoff is purposefully destabilizing, and so is the show. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable, and I think in our society, we, and me definitely included, we put a lot of our whole lives are revolve around comfort, feeling comfortable, feeling safe, feeling and that doesn't really give that much room for growth. And there's something about this show that really pushes all its characters to grow, and I feel like it does it to the viewer too when you watch it. Even when I watched it, I felt that.
Well, I really enjoyed the show, and I guess my take was better these people than me. So thanks a lot for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.